All righty. Good morning. Being 9 a.m., I'll call to order the McHenry County Board Committee of the Whole meeting of February 15th, 2024, and Ms. Greeno will lead us in the pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, could you call the roll, please?
Pamela Altoff. Carolyn Campbell.
Here.
Joseph Gottemahler. Terry Greeno.
Here.
Eric Hendricks. Carl Kaminsky.
Present.
James Kearns.
Here.
Matthew Kunkel.
Here.
Teresa Meshes.
Here.
Lou Ness. John Reinhardt.
Here.
Brian Sager. Michael Shorten.
Here.
Michael Scala.
Present.
Larry Smith.
Here.
Gloria Van Hoff. Tracy Von Bergen.
Here.
Kelly Wagner.
Here.
Chairman Buehler.
Here. Having a quorum, will proceed. In lieu of my normal remarks today, we'll have the annual State of the County presentation. Good morning, and welcome to the State of the County Address for 2024. Once again, I am honored and humbled to deliver this address to the County Board and to the people of McHenry County whom we represent. This is the fourth State of the County address I have given since taking office. Over the years, these addresses have moved from discussing our recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic to making our comeback and moving forward once the crisis had passed. My message for 2024 is simple and optimistic. McHenry County has made its comeback, and this is our time to thrive. Growth and development have returned to McHenry County. In fact, we're experiencing a home construction boom, the likes of which hasn't been seen in more than 2 decades. In Wonder Lake, more than 3,500 homes are being built or planned to be built. 3 national developers are bringing more than 600 new homes to Hunt. 2 developers in Algonquin are constructing more than 400 homes, and another 95 homes are planned for a new Marengo subdivision. In Crystal Lake, 5 subdivisions and high-end townhome buildings have been built or are being built or planned, totaling more than 1,200 homes, townhomes, and apartments, plus another 121 units for senior independent living. All told, that's nearly 6,000 new homes planned in our communities, and the list goes on. This comes as no surprise to me, because McHenry County is the place to be. People are naturally drawn here for many reasons: great schools, shopping, access to main thoroughfares and mass transit to commute to and from work, our wonderful wide open spaces and parks, year-round signature events and festivals, and great public safety, just to name a few. This housing boom underscores the fact that McHenry County is growing, bucking the trend here in Illinois. While most Illinois counties lost population in the 2020 U.S. Census, McHenry County gained population. The fact that the real estate market is enjoying this significant upswing reveals that there's a big demand for people who want to come live here and enjoy the quality of life that McHenry County offers. In last July, that quality of life got a significant boost when Mercy Health cut the ribbon on its new state-of-the-art $105 million hospital and physician clinic in Crystal Lake. The need for McHenry County's largest city to have its own hospital had been demonstrated for decades, and 2023 was the year that need was finally met. With our growing population, Mercy Health will complement Northwestern Medicine and Advocate Aurora hospitals in McHenry, Barrington, and Huntley. We're growing and thriving, and with Mercy Health, we put healthcare a lot closer to a lot of people, including our growing senior population. The lives of these people will be healthier, and more importantly, lives will be saved. But there's a lot more that goes into making McHenry County thrive than new rooftops. And Mercy Health is a great example of this. Besides increasing healthcare options, the hospital created jobs, construction jobs to build it, jobs to staff it, and just as importantly, jobs at area businesses that service and support this new hospital and its employees. The fact remains that a large percentage of McHenry County's workforce commutes to work elsewhere. However, McHenry County government works hard to grow jobs, quality, high-paying jobs right here. In January 2023, McHenry County joined the City of Chicago and its surrounding counties to create the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership. The partnership seeks to work together and pool our combined world-class resources to drive economic and business development for all. We now work together, uniting our individual strengths into one giant economic tapestry to bring jobs and residents here. In October, I had the pleasure of representing McHenry County on a business and trade mission to Japan, which is the Chicago region's 5th largest trading partner and 3rd largest source of direct foreign investment in Illinois. During our trip, our delegation met with more than 100 Japanese businesses, resulting in 13 solid opportunities for investment in our region. I let Japan's business and industry leaders know at every chance that presented itself that McHenry County is open for investment and opportunity. One of our most outstanding opportunities for investment is the full interchange at Route 23 and I-90 in Marengo. The city continues to work to extend utilities to the interchange, and they are on track to complete the work by 2026. The interchange's ideal location between O'Hare and Rockford airports and its access to rail makes it prime real estate for industrial jobs. Just up I-90 in Belvidere, multinational automotive manufacturer Stellantis has announced plans to build vehicles at the Belvidere assembly plant. But that's only the start. Stellantis envisions not only reopening the plant as a $100 million mega hub parts distribution center, but also is considering building a new assembly plant and a battery plant. The Marengo interchange is just 15 minutes away, right down the interstate. And believe me, we will do everything in our power to let Stellantis know that. After decades of vacancy and more setbacks than anyone would like to count, it's my distinct pleasure to say something that previous county board chairmen and Harvard mayors have been wanting to say for a very long time. The former Harvard Motorola plant is operational, and it's employing more people once again. U.S. Medical Glove has renovated the facility and, having received its occupancy permit from the city and the Harvard Fire Protection District, is now manufacturing. They're employing about 150 workers right now, and they continue to hire. While it's important to celebrate the arrival of large employers, it's our small businesses that power America's economic engine, and McHenry County is no exception. In past addresses, I've touted how McHenry County has made it as easy as possible to obtain the needed permits to start businesses, and of course, how we do our best to pursue business-friendly policies that foster small business growth. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give credit where it's due to other local governments that are helping small businesses take root. Over the past year, the cities of McHenry and Woodstock have both launched ingenious business incubator programs to give small entrepreneurs a taste of running a brick and mortar location. Woodstock's is located in the renovated historic courthouse on the square, and McHenry's was built from scratch along the scenic McHenry Riverwalk. I can't wait to see the success stories that come from these incubators, and I hope that other municipalities consider following suit and creating their own. One of the keys to attracting great jobs is having a talented and highly skilled workforce. McHenry County has that, and then some, as well as many opportunities for workers to further their education and sharpen their skill sets, such as through McHenry County College or our McHenry County Workforce Network. In 2023, McHenry County College took a major step by opening its University Center in downtown Woodstock and partnering with 4 universities: Northern Illinois University, Roosevelt University, Aurora University, and Southern Illinois University, to offer students in a growing number of majors the opportunity to earn a 4-year college degree right here in McHenry County. This is going to have a huge impact on our quality of life and our ability to attract employers, and it's going to be exciting to see how far this goes. McHenry County government's long history of fiscal stewardship and prudent spending allowed us to weather the COVID-19 pandemic, just as it allowed us to make it through the Great Recession more than a decade prior. This prudence gave the McHenry County Board the ability to invest millions of dollars in McHenry County's American Rescue Plan Act funding into thoughtful and impactful programs that would directly benefit our communities. We launched the Advanced McHenry County program in 2022 to distribute just under $30 million, half of our COVID relief allocation, into self-sufficient projects that would help our businesses, enrich our communities, and improve our infrastructure. In retrospect, with almost all of the funding allocated across 30 grants, we can say with certainty that Advanced McHenry County accomplished everything that we set out to do, and more. At the beginning of my address, I said that McHenry County is ready to thrive. Advanced McHenry County, which very much lived up to its name, played a significant role in this, especially when it comes to our local economy. Many of its grants were aimed at helping train the next generation of workers so our manufacturers and our healthcare providers have a steady and reliable stream of skilled labor. Advanced McHenry County grants funded the creation of the Health Careers Lab at Crystal Lake Central High School to give students a path to become certified nursing assistants and help meet the ever-growing need for healthcare services. Another grant funded the opening of a metals and metalworking lab at Woodstock North High School. Last year, McHenry County College broke ground on its Foglia Center for Advanced Technology and Innovation, and an advanced grant will cover the major portion of the funding to purchase the state-of-the-art equipment that will help train generations of manufacturers and tradesmen. The summer of 2024 will be the third and final year of the summer rotational internship program created by the Manufacturing Pathways Consortium to offer high school students across McHenry County paid summer internships with more than 20 local manufacturing companies. My words don't do it justice. I had the privilege last August of attending a celebration with the participating students, and it's helping students chart their futures and has changed their lives. It's no wonder that the U.S. Treasury Department released a fact sheet on how to best use ARPA funding that singled out Advanced McHenry County as an example to follow when it comes to making transformational investments in our communities. We were one of 13 counties out of the more than 3,000 counties in the entire United States that were recognized for our innovative programs. Advanced McHenry County is just one of many ways that we've been reaching out to work together for the common cause of making McHenry County the best that it can be. In recent years, with the help of a new county coordinator position that we created in 2020, we've put a major emphasis on working together with other local and regional governments to share services, increase efficiencies, and keep costs under control. And one of the most important ways that this spirit of cooperation has borne fruit is regarding public safety. In November, we joined the McHenry County Sheriff's Office and the Village of Cary in cutting the ribbon on our new regional training center. With this new center, our sheriff's deputies, municipal law enforcement, and other first responders now have a location right here in McHenry County with which to train and hone their skills. We also broke ground in Cary on a new law enforcement shooting range, which will be ready this spring. These projects came to fruition because of the unprecedented spirit of cooperation between McHenry County and local governments. When Cary built a new village hall and police station, its leaders offered us the opportunity to convert the old village hall into the training center, and likewise offered some of the land on its public works campus to build the range. We jumped at the opportunity to build something our sheriff's office has long wanted, a local facility at which to train. And we couldn't beat the price. Cary charges $1 for the old village hall, and we officially made good on that debt at the ribbon cutting. The summer of 2023 marked the one-year anniversary of the McHenry County Police Social Worker Program, which supports officers from 19 participating police departments with 6 full-time social workers to help bridge the gap between law enforcement and McHenry County's network of social service providers. We knew it would be a success when we launched it, and with a year under our belts, the numbers back us up. This program in its first year served 2,031 clients, and almost 3/4 of them had fewer police contacts as a result of police social worker intervention. Also, about 3/4 of them had an increased level of functioning as defined by clinical assessment. This program is changing lives and getting people the help they need. McHenry County is assisting other local governments with advancing public safety in other ways as well. Recently, our Sheriff's Office entered into an agreement with the Lake County Sheriff's Office to help them address overcrowding at their county jail by temporarily housing up to 150 inmates at any given time in our county jail, as Lake County works to alleviate their ongoing staffing shortages. McHenry County will receive $100 per housed inmate per day under the one-year agreement. Besides being the right thing to do by helping Lake County keep their inmate population and corrections employees safe, the additional revenue will help make up for what McHenry County lost when the state of Illinois forced us to terminate our contract to house federal immigration detainees, and will help offset some of the expenses we've incurred with the Safety Act. We've accomplished so much by working together and with other agencies when it comes to supporting law enforcement and increasing public safety. However, it's just one component of our overall plan to reduce costs and increase efficiencies through cooperation. Earlier in my address, I mentioned the county coordinator position we created 4 years ago. She's been doing a remarkable job bringing governments and agencies together, not just to brainstorm, but also to act on the best ideas and make them reality. And we're always bringing new people in and having new conversations. Last September, we hosted the first ever McHenry County Municipal Partnering Initiative Exposition. More than 50 attendees representing different area governments and private agencies came here with the goal of learning best practices and fostering further cooperation among local governments. This, in turn, can lead to a streamlined operation and, more importantly, taxpayer money saved. Thanks to solid planning, forethought, and cooperation, McHenry County has been turning many of its infrastructure wants and needs into reality. This is more important than ever as McHenry County's economy thrives. You can't enjoy economic and residential growth without the infrastructure to support it, and 2024 will be no exception. 2 years ago, work finished on the first phase of the Randall Road Improvement Project, which widened and improved this vital economic corridor from Lake in the Hills south to Harness Drive in Algonquin. Construction on the remaining northern segment between Crystal Lake and Lake in the Hills will begin this year, and like the first phase, will include improvements such as multi-use paths and ADA accommodations. And I'm happy to report that late last year, McHenry County secured an additional $20 million in federal funding to finance this second phase. For many years, McHenry County has joined Woodstock in petitioning IDOT and state officials to rebuild and widen Route 47 through town in order to ease congestion and improve travel time and driver safety. Our persistence has paid off. This year, construction will begin on the first phase of the project, which will widen and improve 2 miles of Route 47 between Route 14 and Route 120 to include the Union Pacific Northwest Railroad overpass choke point. Bids are expected to go out in April, with construction to follow. This fall, the Long Meadow Parkway Bridge is scheduled to open as part of the 5.6-mile Long Meadow Parkway corridor in Kane County, which will relieve congestion on Route 62, which runs through Algonquin. Original plans called for covering the bridge's construction costs with a toll, which is understandably not a popular idea with commuters. A total of $35 million was needed to eliminate the toll, and through bipartisan work of our local legislators, the state contributed $30 million, leaving Kane, Cook, and McHenry counties to come up with the remaining $5 million. In one of its last votes of 2023, the McHenry County Board allocated $1 million in advanced McHenry County funding toward the elimination of the toll. Given that improving traffic flow on Route 62 will be just as good for businesses and commerce as it will be for commuters, this was a great investment that will save daily commuters hundreds of dollars per year. Infrastructure is more than roads. It also includes cyberspace. Access to reliable, high-speed internet is vital to everyone, not just individuals and business and industry, but to government, schools, research, and so much more. We continue to collaborate with the state of Illinois and the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity to bring high-speed internet to McHenry County customers. In January, we met with officials to communicate our high-speed broadband needs and to ensure that McHenry County receives its portion of the more than $1 billion that the state of Illinois has received for high-speed fiber installation. We never lose sight in McHenry County of our obligation to look after our most vulnerable populations, people in need, and people trying to better themselves. In 2023, county government made significant strides. In October, we broke ground on a new Memory High nursing and rehabilitation home, which will help meet the growing demand in McHenry County for senior memory care services. We've worked for years towards this goal, years of planning and studies emphasizing the need for affordable and certified memory care. And we're very happy that this dream is becoming reality. And another positive step, taking the GED and high school equivalency diploma tests, as well as other professional licensing and certification exams in McHenry County, became much more convenient this summer with the Regional Office of Education opening a Pearson VUE testing center at its McHenry offices. No longer do county residents have to drive to Kane County or elsewhere to take the test to finish their high school education or attain or renew a professional license or certification. Last summer ended with our coroner's office earning professional accreditation from the Illinois Association of Coroners and Medical Examiners. Our coroner's office not only met all the mandatory standards, but also met 99% of its non-mandatory standards. The coroner's office is now one of only 3 coroner's offices in Illinois that have that earned honor. At our treasurer's office, Treasurer Donna Kurtz has done outstanding work in her first 2 years in office. Besides wisely investing the county's funds, she's made it easier for people to pay their property taxes electronically. And she's been holding presentations across the county to let seniors know about the Senior Real Estate Tax Deferral Program. So to the Regional Superintendent of Schools, Diana Hartman, Coroner Michael Reen, and Treasurer Donna Kurtz, I say job well done. McHenry County government's dedication to ensuring that McHenry County is the best it can be is being noticed. For the 3rd straight year, McHenry County's top-notch financial reporting has earned the Triple Crown Medallion from the Government Finance Officers Association for winning all 3 of its financial reporting awards. Only about 300 governments nationwide have earned the honor, so we're in very august company. Other awards McHenry County received in 2023 included the Gold Bell Seal for Workplace Mental Health from Mental Health America for our dedication to improving our workers' mental health and well-being. Also, the American Healthcare Association and the National Center for Assisted Living awarded Valley High with its Silver National Quality Award, which recognizes nursing care organizations that continuously improve upon enriching the lives of their residents and the staff who care for them. Valley High was one of only 4 nursing homes in Illinois to be so honored in 2023. And last year, the Northwest Herald's readers voted McHenry County government as being one of the top workplaces in McHenry County, and we're optimistic that we'll again win the honor this year. 2 of our elected countywide offices also received statewide recognition through their professionalism and selfless service, bringing great credit to themselves and McHenry County through their accomplishments. The Illinois Association of County Officials named Circuit Clerk Kathy Keefe as its 2023 Illinois County Official of the Year. And State's Attorney Patrick Keneally was elected President of the Illinois State's Attorneys Association for 2024. Before I talk about everything we're going to accomplish in 2024, I'd like to wrap up our list of 2023 achievements by talking about the continuous ways with which we're improving our communications and how we're directly interacting with the public we're here to serve. We began 2023 with the completion of a goal I shared in my previous State of the County address. We unveiled a new McHenry County website. Our website, mchenrycountyil.gov, looks better, is much simpler to use, is optimized to run on mobile devices, and makes the things the public wants so much easier to find. As Illinois and the nation shut down in 2020 with the governor's stay-at-home order to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, we partnered with the Economic Development Corporation and Naturally McHenry County, our tourism and visitor agency, to create a weekly e-newsletter called Resume McHenry County. Its goal was to help businesses, workers, and families find available resources and to safely guide our return to normalcy as restrictions and lockdowns eased. With COVID behind us, we decided that a name change was in order. In May, with the state and federal states of emergency officially lifted, we rebranded Resume McHenry County as MCH Thrive. The newsletter comes out every Tuesday afternoon, offering quick and easy to read articles pertaining to business, workforce and job development, tourism and upcoming events, and other important news. If you'd like to subscribe to MCH Thrive and our monthly county e-newsletter, you can do so by visiting mchenrycountyil.gov/social. Talking about how we'll advance and thrive in 2024 is a great way to wrap up my remarks. McHenry County residents will have a direct say in the upcoming March primary regarding how they would like to fund mental health. The county board placed a referendum on the March 19th ballot asking voters whether the property tax levy that is collected to fund the McHenry County Mental Health Board should be replaced with a 0.25% retail sales tax, eliminating nearly $11 million from the McHenry County property tax levy while replacing it with increasing funding levels for mental health. The sales tax, if approved, would cost about 25 cents for every $100 in goods purchased, excluding food, medicine, and medical devices, and at the same time, reduce the county's portion of your property tax bill by nearly 15%. We've set up a frequently asked questions page on the county website, and I encourage anyone who wants to know more about this important issue to visit it and get their questions answered. Speaking of elections, this presidential election is a very important one, and it's safe to say that voter turnout is going to be high. And McHenry County government has an obligation to ensure that both the March primary and the November general election run smoothly. Given that the logistical and space needs to securely and efficiently run an election have grown in recent years, the county board, in full cooperation and partnership with County Clerk Joe Theriot, voted in January to lease 16,500 square feet of office space in Woodstock, just down the road from the county administration building, to serve as a consolidated election center. This will give Mr. Theriot's staff the space they need at a centralized point to run a safe, efficient, and secure election. To be an effective and responsive government like McHenry County requires lots of planning and thinking ahead. We wouldn't be where we are without a team of extremely dedicated and talented personnel who make things happen after diligent research and consideration. One of the most important planning tools that county government has is its comprehensive plan, which is a vital tool that the county board and county staff relies on to responsibly guide our growth and development for the next decade. As McHenry County continues to grow and thrive, this plan is more important than ever. The comprehensive plan is updated every decade by a regional planning commission appointed by the county board. The 15-member commission has been working for the past 2 years on the 2050 comprehensive plan, and they will be delivering their final version for the county board to review this spring. While the comprehensive plan guides our land use and growth, development is only one of the county board's responsibilities. To help county board members make the most informed decisions they can, they rely on a strategic plan. Of all of the items I've touched on in my State of the County address, infrastructure, health and social services, economic and workforce development, leadership in governments, and more are included in the plan, which contains tangible benchmarks to accomplish or move towards. In fact, you can read the plan for yourself and review its report card to check out our progress on the county website. And finally, we're in the fourth and final year of the current strategic plan. County administration through 2024 will be hard at work laying the groundwork for the next plan. Work will begin on the new plan in early 2025 after the new county board is seated following the election. As I enter my fourth year as county board chairman, I never stop being amazed at everything we've accomplished together and the optimism and can-do spirit that fuels the constant stream of ideas about how much more we can do to maximize effective and efficient services while striving to keep costs down and seeking every possible opportunity to reduce our tax burden. And just as importantly, to do all of this with maximum transparency and accountability. I'm confident that we'll continue to build on our successes in 2024 and constantly move forward, challenging ourselves to make sure that McHenry County continues to be the greatest place to live, work, visit, start a business, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thanks. I think it's important to note that from month to month, sometimes we become very focused on individual agenda items, and many times we have very robust debate. But when we look back over the entire year, this board has done some truly amazing work to improve our community. So thank you to the board. Okay, do any members have comments today? Ms. Wagner?
Thank you. 2.5 weeks ago, there was the People in Need, or the now renamed PIN Forum at MCC, which is a large showcase of the service organizations in our county, and this is attended by mostly nonprofit organizations. There were over 60 volunteers, over 120 booths, which I'm happy to say many of our county departments were there, and over 1,000 attendees. This was the biggest PIN yet. 3 county board members attended. And I wish more had attended because we voted for the sales tax referendum and the importance of mental health. It's important to see that the majority of the work for our under and uninsured people in our county are being serviced by these nonprofit organizations. That said, next year, put it on your calendar. It's usually the last weekend of January, the People in Need Forum. Once again, we're sitting here after yet another mass shooting. Yesterday's mass shooting was on the same day as the Parkland mass shooting that happened 6 years ago. 22 people were shot, 1 was killed, and 9 of those that were shot were children. And this was supposed to be on a celebratory day for a Super Bowl win. When those with guns threaten our daily lives and the special events that we hold dear, you would think something would be done. Years ago, there was a federal assault weapons ban, and gun-related deaths were reduced by 75% during that time. Doesn't that make sense to do something now? We need, as a country, to enforce red flag laws and create safe gun storage laws to prevent more deaths and tragedies at the hands of careless people who have access to guns. When is something going to be done?
Seeing no further member comment, we'll move on to public comment. We have one today, Jana Dixon. Welcome back, Jana.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Jana Dixon, and I'm a resident of Bull Valley. I was an assistant state's attorney for 11 years in the civil division. When I joined the state's attorney's office in 2011, it was in the midst of a very difficult hiring market for lawyers. The state's attorney's office was able to consistently hire law graduates from top 25 universities. We were also able to pick up a lot of experienced attorneys. I believed then, and I continue to believe, that the state's attorney's office in the mid to late 2010s was the best law firm in the county. And it was the best law firm in the county for 3 reasons. It had strong leadership. It had a core group of experienced attorneys who were there for a long time, willing to train new attorneys, and a steady pipeline of new attorneys coming in that actually stayed long enough to be able to learn from those lawyers and sort of complete the training cycle. In my final years at the state's attorney's office, I started to see a dramatic shift in the quality of candidates that we were able to get. And that, again, sort of breaks down the quality of legal work that you are receiving as a county board. Having poorly qualified candidates only costs the county money in the long term. One of the main reasons State's Attorney Bianchi and Keneally have been able to stabilize their budgets for so many years was because of this shift from moving outside expensive legal services in-house, namely your federal litigation and your labor law. And they also kept the wages of the assistant state's attorneys stagnated. What concerns me even more than the lack of high-quality lawyers joining the office are the lawyers who have left in the last 3 years. My new job has reminded me that it takes a significant amount of time to build up the institutional knowledge that you need, to build the client relationships that you need in order to provide high-quality legal services to an organization as big as the county. I talked about that federal litigation and the labor work. That has a steep learning curve. And you guys have an issue if you have lawyers who are only able to sort of stick around for a year or two. They don't gain that knowledge that they need to give you adequate legal services. And legal mistakes cost you money. There's always going to be attrition in a state's attorney's office. Historically, that is because of the lure of more money at private institutions. It's an issue that you guys are losing lawyers right now to other government bodies. Traditionally, they have not been able to provide the same level of pay. Personnel is the single greatest cost for the state's attorney's office and for the county. So I understand that the pay increases that you guys see before you today seem dramatic. They seem out of step with the budget process, because they are. I think one of Patrick's greatest mistakes was sort of letting the market slide away to a point where you were losing attorneys and not being able to get new ones. And I'm sure that he wishes he had addressed that incrementally, but it is, I think, a desperate situation for you right now. I know all of this sounds super negative, but there is good news. The good news is you still have a good group of lawyers in that office, and you can fix this. I've taken a look at the pay rates, and I'm sure that that is going to cause many people to stay. I think it will attract a lot of people. People want to stay in the office. When I talk to the lawyers, they want to stay. I wanted to stay. I didn't want to leave. I loved that job, but sometimes you have to leave because of pay. I think you have a really great opportunity to fix this, and I urge you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to reports and presentations, and in order that more staff might be in attendance, we'll have a very brief presentation honoring the 50th anniversary of the CDG or CDBG program. Thank you to Hans Mock and staff for your dedication to the program. In addition, myself, Pam Altoff, and staff were in attendance at the NACO conference in Washington, D.C. this weekend, and we were proud to ask our legislators for their support for increased funding to the CDBG program as part of our federal legislative agenda. So thank you very much, and Ms. Von Bergen will read the proclamation that we'll be voting on Tuesday night.
Thank you, Chair. I am honored to read the proclamation recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Whereas through bipartisan legislation, Congress passed and President Gerald Ford signed into law the National Community Development Act of 1974. And whereas the National Community Development Act of 1974 created the Community Development Block Grant Program, whereas McHenry County has special ties to the program because the mother of President Ford, Dorothy Eyre Gardner Ford, was born in the city of Harvard in McHenry County, Illinois, on February 27, 1892. And whereas McHenry County, being a community of over 200,000 residents, became an entailment community for Community Development Block Grant funds in 1995, thereby being a recipient for 30 program years, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program allows for effective local decision-making for projects that assist primarily low and moderate income residents, and whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program is an effective tool in funding economic development, infrastructure, housing, public services, public facilities, historic preservation, and many other projects that assist county residents. And whereas McHenry County has received $40 million in funding since 1995 that has assisted thousands of county residents over the course of time. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by this County Board of McHenry County, Illinois, that the year 2024 is recognized as the 50th anniversary of the important Community Development Block Grant Program, and be it further proclaimed that the county clerk is hereby authorized to distribute a certified copy of this proclamation to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Region 5 Office, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development National Office, the County Administrator, and the Community Development Administrator, dated at Woodstock, Illinois, this 20th day of February 2024.
County board members, if you can't see me, I can't see you. So let's get all your heads in here. All right, now everybody say CDBG. CDBG. All right. All right. Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, moving on to new business. Do any members have items from next Tuesday's agenda they'd like to remove for discussion? Mr. Scala?
I have 3, 13A, 13B, 17B1.
Hold on, 13A and B, 17.
B1, please.
Ms. Wagner?
I need to abstain from 16B 2.1, 5.2, and 5.3. And I'd also like to pull 16A 1.1, the clerk's report.
Okay, noted. First up, Mr. Scala, 13A.
Can we just do A and B together?
Sure.
Is that okay? So these two resolutions went through 3 different committees, so I don't need to share with the board because I think almost all the board has heard about these two. At Finance, there was again, a lengthy discussion regarding these two resolutions. It ended up passing 4-2 out of our committee. So my only comments are pertaining to process. I think everybody on the Finance Committee wholeheartedly supported the 2 resolutions and the desire to not only retain the staff, but all the comments that Jana, if she's not even here anymore, but Jana had made in her public comments, I think are very true. And so I don't think there was anyone that was not in favor of trying to not only support both departments, but the work that they do. My issues revolve around process and budget process specifically. You know, we do sometimes have emergency appropriations for personnel that come outside of budget process, but typically those are one-offs, meaning that, you know, it's a particular job position that we're really having problems trying to hire someone. And so therefore we make an adjustment based on the economics of that particular position. This being a complete overhaul of the 2 departments, it becomes difficult for me to vote for this, again, not because of the value that this brings, but because of the overall budgeting process and what that means to us. You know, for the last several years, this county board has had great discussion around passing a budget. And last several years, it's been a very close vote in order to pass a budget. And that's because, you know, there is a desire to try and keep property taxes low. this again is a reoccurring expense that will happen year over year for the county. And I do believe that adjustments should be made, you know, on an ongoing basis, not just simply, you know, one very large increase over what should have been done over multiple years. We do have a study that we've always done for not only this group, but for all groups for non-union salaries, which this could be added to and be a part of, which would, in turn, the board would see all of that roughly in June, July timeframe, which would again go back to process. So, you know, whether this gets voted and passed now or voted and passed in a couple of months, I think the outcomes would be exactly the same. But to me, it fits process better. We have not had a department or elected official come to us, at least since I've been on the board, with such a large increase outside of a budget cycle. And so to me, that sets a precedence that I would rather not have here in the county. And I do believe that the employees in both areas should be supported and should feel like, as a board, the county supports them. And so this has nothing to do with that. It's just strictly about process. So I have a hard time accepting these two at this point in time, again, just because of that. Thank you.
Ms. Wagner.
Thank you. I want to thank Jana for speaking. I really do understand the need for raises. But, Mr. State's Attorney, I would like to know how many hours your staff has worked, extra hours your staff has worked due to the lawsuits that you have filed against the state of Illinois. You say your attorneys are overworked, and I would think filing lawsuits for political gain would, one, create more hours for your attorneys to work, two, create some consternation within your department because of the political nature of these lawsuits, and three, you're using tax dollars for lawsuits that you're unlikely to win.
Thank you for the question. I guess I would first
You can turn that mic on. We
I
didn't turn that mic on.
I guess I would do, first of all, I dispute your premise that we're filing lawsuits for political gain. And I guess I would question and ask, what basis do you have to state that me, as an attorney, under ethical obligations, under my obligations as the state's attorney, am personally motivated by political gain in the choices that I've made with respect to the lawsuits that I've filed? I guess I would just wonder, what basis do you have for making that accusation publicly?
The various quotes that are in the paper and the press releases you send out.
Like what?
Anybody can read them in the paper.
No, but you made the comment, so
I did.
what quotes have I said that would justify you publicly accusing me of filing lawsuits, which would be an ethical obligation for political gain? So you made the quote, and then you said that there are quotes that I've made which would indicate that I'm doing this unethically for political gain. So I'm asking, what quotes are you talking about?
I never called into question your ethics. I said for political gain.
But you necessarily
I do
did.
not have
No,
quotes in front of me, but these are lawsuits that the whole county is partaking in that you have initiated on behalf of the county and the state's attorney's office.
Which lawsuits?
The one against the Safety Act and the one against the Protect Illinois Act.
Okay, so the one against the Safety Act was supported by 100 of the 102 state's attorneys in the entire state of Illinois. So to suggest that that was somehow politically motivated, okay, I don't think you have the horses for that. With regard to the gun legislation, you have an irregular law, okay, that has been passed. So the state of Illinois has had the votes in terms of how it's been politically made up over the course of
probably the last 2 decades to file such a law. The reason that they never passed that law is because they knew it was unconstitutional. The reason that they filed it in Illinois is because they have a friendly circuit with Justice Easterbrook in the Seventh Circuit that is going to uphold it. This law is not going to be successful. This law, I can almost guarantee you, is going to be struck down in front of the United States Supreme Court. And the reason is because there's clear precedent that that when you're looking at what type of guns when you're looking at what type of guns are protected by the Second Amendment, you have to take into account the traditional history of prior regulations. The state of Illinois, nor any other state, has ever restricted these types of guns, and as a result of that, the vast majority of legal scholars that have looked at it, the vast majority of lawyers that looked at it, have concluded that this is likely going to be struck down in front of the Illinois Supreme Court. So I would dispute that this is a politically motivated law. In fact, I would say that the opposite is true. What is politically motivated is this law. And what ultimately it's going to do is it's going to undermine businesses in this county, which are my constituents as well as your constituents. So the entire thrust of this law has been, we're going to pass a law, we're going to drive gun ownership down, we're going to drive gun businesses out of the state of Illinois, and that undermines the livelihoods of people that I represent, and it also undermines the livelihoods of people that you represent. Okay? And so I consider it my duty as the McHenry County State's Attorney to file these types of lawsuits. Now, with respect to the amount of time that it's costing the lawyers, it's not costing the lawyers much time at all. In fact, the Safety Act was handled by me personally with a collective of, as I said, over 60 different state's attorneys' offices. The amount of time that it actually costs McHenry County in terms of my work, I would say was most of the work that I did on it was on the weekends. So between Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, I would say almost zero time that it costs. With respect to the gun legislation, that also has been filed as well as pursued as part of a consortium. And the lawsuit that we filed has been stayed almost since its inception. And so the amount of work that we've actually put on that, I would say, has been between 5 and 10 hours. It ultimately is stayed because it's part of a bundle of lawsuits that are currently being litigated in front of the Seventh Circuit and ultimately are going to go to the Supreme Court.
Thank you for your long explanation. I still dispute the number of hours that would have been put into this. So I stand by my statement that these lawsuits are for political gain. Although I don't dispute that the needs for these departments, both departments, attorney salaries need to be increased, I do have a problem with them coming outside the budget process and outside the compensation study process. We as county employees need to work together to do what's best for the county. And following the budget process where we make those decisions would show that we're all willing to think about the taxpayers. So I will vote no in its current form. I would appreciate if this would come through the budget process or possibly through the compensation process.
I would just say that there's one person here making statements for political gain, and it's not me, it's you, Ms. Wagner.
Mr. Reinert.
Hi, yes. So we have given raises to every department in this county, every employee. Our sheriff's office is probably one of the highest paid in the area, and yet the most important, arguably the most important offices, the legal and the state's attorney's office, that are losing legal minds because we're not competitive. I would certainly support this. Also, some of the money that we'll be spending for the Department of Health, which, by the way, I would like to pull 16B27. I didn't get to that, the Department of Health facilities remodel, to discuss that. But in regards to the sheriff's arming to the state's attorney's office, I would most importantly support this office and their endeavor to maintain their legal minds.
Ms. Greeno.
Thank you. I would like to state that if there's an issue with the action taken by the state's attorney's office by any board members, it needs to be addressed at the time of the action or brought up for the agenda during that time, not during a time when we are discussing a recruiting and retention human resource effort, because we need to attract and retain arguably the best intellectual property in the state of Illinois and possibly the United States. The cost of the loss of talent and turnover can be easily researched and is in six figures for any position of this sort that would be left open. No doubt, when you have competitive rates increase in drivable distances, you are going to lose your talent, and we do not want that. This discussion is not only about what the current situation is in this labor market, but also how it will be funded. We have asked for the administration to lay out to us the funding resources that we have available. They worked diligently to do that, even with someone such as me, and I really appreciate that. I do believe that the way that this was just approached in this morning's discussion was for political purposes of someone obviously running for office at this time. To put them in a position of attack on the state's attorney, it makes no sense at all and not appreciated by this board.
Mr. Kearns?
Well, the debate's always lively here, but so I'll put my little bit of input here. I do support the state's attorney's office on this. In the past, we have voted as a full board to give pay raises mid-budget terms across the board, raising at some substantial cost to our budget. I feel that take politics out of this. This is a retention. We've struggled with this in other departments in transportation and everything else. That we lose some top quality people because we don't compete and can't compete with the marketplace out there. We need to put our people at the stage that we can retain them. And especially in the state's attorney's office, because their job is growing with what the infractions that our state has put upon us with these laws that they pass. And folks, the state's not done with us. There's more laws coming out. Start reading about the laws that are going to infringe upon us on our zoning in the future, the taking away single residence zoning from the counties, making it statewide. This is a bunch of bull, and we need the state's attorney to actually do more for us against the state when these things happen. And they represent the people of McHenry County. And I insist that we need the top quality people to do that for us. We don't need the people who just graduate from law school. We need great lawyers. And the state continues to pass legislation because of the power of the Democrats in Chicago and the numbers that they have overwhelmingly. And they continue to do this. We need to pass things like this. We need to keep our top attorneys. We need to fight crime. We need that. So I support the state's attorneys in this. And yes, I do believe these statements this morning. I will agree. Let's take these politics out of it and let's just support them. We need top lawyers.
Ms. Meshes.
Thank you. Thank you. So I was on admin services, I am on admin services still, and I'm on the finance committee, and in both committees I did support this. I'm going to ask a question of the state's attorney, but I'm giving him time to walk up, so I'll speak to before he's walking up. So as for whether this is a time or not to speak about it, to evaluate the state's attorney, I think that is for each of us to determine. I think that when this resolution was brought to us or was formed to us, there was it would have been something to be considered, that this might be a time that why wasn't this brought up? Or it has been brought up, that the claim or the statement, if I paraphrase what County Board Member Scala said, is that this should have been brought up sooner, that this is in some cases a mistake, that it wasn't incrementally dealt with. So I don't know if it's uncalled, I'm not going to say that this isn't a time just to talk about what have the state's attorney's office done, not done, but the question I do have is, if we don't pass this now, it is likely we're going to lose some of your staff. So will we have to outsource cases again? And if we are, what cases would those be? And I realize also that perhaps more of your time is spent on protecting or litigating on our behalf. There are some cases I know of currently going on that your office is dealing with because of board action. So my assumption is that that takes more time than the cases that I would also agree are somewhat politically motivated, which there are 3 of them. But those 3 cases that I have not supported, which I've not supported publicly at the time, I acknowledge also probably did not take much of your staff's time. So what would have to be outsourced? And is part of what's going to be outsourced the cases you take on behalf of the board?
Sure. So a couple things. One is the reason. So if the discussion is going to be like what mistakes has Canaley made as a state's attorney with regard to the budget, we could be here all day because I've made plenty of mistakes as state's attorney since 2016. So like no doubt about it. All right. One of the reasons why this has not been brought to the county board with respect to the budget prior to this is because we were working on trying to get more funding. We were working on trying to get more positions in the wake of the Safety Act. So 2020, the Safety Act was passed. We worked to get more positions in 2021, 2022, as well as 2023. The calculus was from us as well as in collaboration with the people who give us direction with regard to the mood as well as the likely outcomes of petitioning the county board is that why don't we focus on the positions now and we can work with respect to salaries later. We take all of that advice, we respect it, and we want to bring things to the county board that ultimately are going to pass. And so and not to over ask with respect to certain things that are going to jeopardize the necessities that we need right now. So that's the thinking. In addition to that, as I talked about at the various committees that I was at, this is in response to 3 counties who have significant holes that they need to fill, but also who we compete with significantly, surreptitiously raising their salaries. So that would be Lake, that would be Kane, as well as that would be DuPage. And they intentionally did it quietly because they wanted to make sure that they retained the people that they had, but they also wanted an advantage with respect to this new pool of applicants that's coming out, especially after February with the bar examination, and get first dibs on them and be out to compete places like Winnebago, McHenry County, otherwise. So that's the reason for this now. Now you're right. We have 2 open positions right now, one of which is the labor position that we've brought in-house. So if we don't fill that, as you said and as you wisely pointed out, one of the options that we'll have to consider is going out and hiring a private attorney at private market rates. And if we do that, we're going to be billed $300+ per hour. If you look back at prior to 2016, some of the bills that were coming in for labor law services, they were to a tune annually of about $300,000. So filling these positions, especially these critical positions in cases involving the county board, as well as in cases on the civil side that deal directly and impact directly the finances of the county, it's critical that we get those filled now in order to save money in the long term. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Mr. Kunkel.
Yes, I also agree with Mike Scala. I believe there's an orderly fashion to do all this in. My original, as most of you know, my original vote in Law and Government was for no for this, because as a board, we're starting to get a sky is falling mentality. People know, other various organizations know, that if they surprise us and we're spooked, we make quick decisions Just recently, and I'm was fully in favor of Joe Terrio's voting center, but I asked for 30 days because even in our own businesses, we wouldn't make these kind of rash decisions without actually some real due diligence. In the time since law and government, I did my due diligence. Yes, there was some surreptitious attitude with Kane County and the like. They snuck by their raises. So I absolutely understand that. But further than that, I'm also on transportation in between law and government and admin. And the very next transportation after this law and government meeting, we recognized 3 new employees, all 3 of which we poached from other municipalities and townships. So this is a very real crisis for us right now as far as keeping and retaining good people. And therefore, as I stated in admin, I will be in favor of doing this now, but I am not in favor of any more surprises. I would like to do our due diligence before spending money.
Mr. Shorten.
I mean, one of the most important roles that we have in government that keeps our county and our country the way it is the law and justice system. And to put that at risk is not something that I could do. I think the timing is incredibly unfortunate. But I'm not, and this applies to both 13A and 13B, I'm not going to put at risk the potential that we might have a prosecution or a defense that runs afoul because we don't have adequate personnel who are able to do the job. And frankly, I think there ought to be some consistency in the office on an ongoing basis. And if we're below market and on a position per position basis right now, based on what neighboring counties have done, we're between, I believe, 11% and 22% lower than neighboring counties. So if I'm an attorney and I'm looking at taking a position, I'm going to look elsewhere. If I'm working in the office currently and there's that kind of disparity, I may be looking elsewhere. I'm not going to put our justice system at risk. The timing is not good. Again, I'm not going to jump on every crisis that jumps forward, and I actually don't like to use that word crisis. It's just a reality. We have to deal in reality, and whether we do this now or we do this with the next budget cycle, it's going to have to be done. And I'm not going to leave the intervening time with a bunch of question marks that, again, puts prosecution or defense at risk. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
May I say something just very quickly?
Sure.
I'd like to apologize to Ms. Wegner for my tone. I hope you understand that I do take my ethical obligations as a state's attorney very seriously. And so when people say that things that I'm doing are politically motivated, we can disagree on the merits of what I'm doing, but I can assure you that with respect to my inner motivations and why I'm doing things, I'm truly simply trying to do the right thing. That all being said, the tone that I took with you, especially in your station and especially before the board, was wrong, and I apologize.
Mr. Gottemoller.
Yes, I mentioned this before, but I started my career as a young assistant state's attorney down in Livingston County. They paid me next to nothing, but they gave me the opportunity to do 18 jury trials in the first 19 months I was an attorney. I don't believe I've had 18 jury trials since then because you just don't have that opportunity. But I also know that when I left, I got calls from 2 different chiefs of police complaining that they'd finally trained me and now I was leaving. It is one of the problems that the office always has. It's become accelerated now partly because of the way the system has changed. I know for myself, 10 years ago I advertised for somebody in my office and had 50 resumes. or 2 years ago, I advertised, I got 2. And so if we don't do something, their office is going to be emptied out. They'll find somebody to run the show or replace it, but it won't be somebody that you want to be defending or prosecuting for you. Because candidly, those first 19 jury trials or 18 jury trials for me were pretty much a disaster. I won many of them, but I can't for a second claim that I know what I was doing. And that's exactly what happens to everybody at the beginning. It's great to have somebody in the office that can make certain that those first newbies have some guidance. My guidance consisted of the very first trial was actually 17 days after being sworn in, and 14 days after being sworn in, my boss said, "You're going to lose on Monday, good luck." And that's exactly what happened. I would challenge anybody. My first witness was 3 years old in any trial. So, at any rate, I hope you don't do that to your people down there, but they had no problems at all doing it to me down in Livingston County. And so, no, I'm in favor of doing this. I don't disagree that the timing's bad, but it needs to be done.
Ms. Van Hoff?
Yes, thank you. Well, I have some concerns. Number one, now I understand we looked at Lake DuPage, Kane, and we took an average of the increase or the difference in what the rate of pay is, and we came up with $17,000. And we're talking about 33 attorneys. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. So I don't doubt that there is a need to increase the pay. My daughter worked out here for 5 years as an assistant state's attorney and ended up leaving, not because of the pay, but because she was not reappointed by the state's attorney that was elected. And so, yes, but that was one of the things that my daughter was told by her financial planner is find another job that pays you more money, that pays you what you're worth. So I know that that happens, not only at McHenry County, but at most county offices. We get students fresh out of college, and this becomes a training ground for them. And they're here for however many years, and they move on. So this is not unique for McHenry County. This happens everywhere. I assure you it happens in Lake, it happens in DuPage, and it happens in Kane. I have an issue with the process. This is a substantial raise, and it happened after the budget process. We just approved funding for rental space for an election center. And so here's another expenditure. I would have liked for this to have been a part of the budget proceedings. And one thing that, I like to say is that I vote consistently. When the motor fuel tax came up, I had a problem with that huge increase. Whereas if we had done incremental increases, we wouldn't have had to take that big hit. So I don't doubt that there's a need. I have a problem with the amount of it and the fact that it's just this huge amount at once, and it was outside the budget process. So I will not be able to support this. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, thank you. I'm on the Finance Committee with Chairman Scala, and if I looked at this only through the lens of being a Finance Committee member, I would certainly be right in line with Chairman Scala's comments. And I would have preferred this would have not come through to us as an emergency appropriation. I think that that was probably in hindsight, that could have been done better. But the fact that the process wasn't followed, the fact that it didn't come through the budget process, if I use that as my primary criteria for this vote, I feel I'd be doing a disservice to the citizens of McHenry County, because I do think this is critical that this would move forward. even though the process wasn't followed as well as it could have been. So I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Ms. Wagner.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak again. Thank you, Mr. Keneally. I do apologize for sounding accusatory in my remarks. That was not my intent, and I should have rephrased it. And I know I'm asking hard questions. I personally disagreed with the lawsuits, and I know some other board members on both sides of the aisle did too. I just said it publicly in the wrong way. I apologize. I was remiss to talk about the resolution too, that it didn't go through the accounting department and the due diligence that we as county board members put in our budget process and when we vote. So to me, again, like I stated before, it's a process. I understand the attorney's questions and need, but I would also like to ask the county board members here who are going to vote yes, if you will vote yes to raise taxes in November.
Mr. Hendricks.
I was one of the individuals who voted no at long government, not because I disagree with giving the state's attorneys at the state's attorney's office more funding. I think it's a larger discussion that needs to be had. My preference in general with these emergency appropriations is to offset it with, make offsetting cuts to expense accounts rather than revenue accounts. However, I will be a yes on Tuesday when this is up. I think as far as this, you know, quote unquote, not being part of the usual process, I think Mr. Keneally has given great reasons for why it wasn't. And namely that there was kind of a, you know, sneak attack by other counties as far as having an advantage at recruiting. So I think this emergency appropriation request is very, very, very appropriate. Law enforcement is probably, if not certainly, the foundational responsibility of the county. I would prefer that this be paid for with offsetting, or by offsetting it with cuts to expense accounts elsewhere within this year's budget. But I think at this time, it's probably best to handle that at the upcoming budget, in the upcoming budget for next year. I will be a yes. And as far as, you know, any attacks as the work of the state's attorney's office being politically motivated, I do think that was out of line. I appreciate Member Wagner walking that comment back. Thank you.
Ms. Greeno.
Yes, thank you. Just as a point of clarification, with the comments that Member Wagner just made, is she asking for an amendment to the resolution on Tuesday for us to commit to increasing the budget in November? It was very unclear.
Okay. Seeing no further comment, McHenry County is with our counties of 100,000 population or more. McHenry County is the safest county in the state of Illinois, due in no small part to the hard work of our state's attorney's office. The difference between now or July, when some of these other county positions are voted on for increases, could be the difference between losing some excellent attorneys and intellectual property of the county, and I don't think we should put at risk public safety over a couple of months difference. My 2 cents. Seeing no further comment on this item, we will move on to 16A1. Ms. Wagner.
Thank you. I just had a quick question for Mr. Terrio. I was looking at the elections website, and I didn't see a sample ballot on there. Are you going to put a sample ballot link on there for people to?
It's been out there for many days, maybe even almost a week. It's on the very front page. It has a red button to be an election judge, another red button to track your ballot, and then another red button for sample ballots and polling place locator.
I apologize, I didn't look at the front page, I went straight to the clerk's page.
No, that's what I mean, the clerk's page. It's
Okay.
on the front of the clerk's page.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Kunkel?
Also, and just for a point of clarification, Mr. Terrio, you're under no statutory obligation to actually produce a sample ballot, are you?
You know, we're not. There's a thing called a publication ballot that we are required to produce, which is really a laundry list of all the things that appear on the 1,453 different variations of the ballot. But we engage with a company that allows us to let voters input their address so that we can produce a copy of what they would see in the polling place. One of the challenges that we face, two of them really, are ballot certainty. So there are still disputes on a lot of races, not so much in McHenry County now, but there were up until a week or so ago. And the fact that once we test all the paper ballots, and we do proofing on that, we have to then repeat that again over the 1,453 different ballot variations that go into the sample ballot. So that's why it's oftentimes not up on the same day that early voting will begin. But all the candidates are listed on our website. But
Yeah, but it's safe to say that you do it more as a community service than anything else.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comment on this item, Mr. Reinert, 16B27.
Yeah, thank you. And Melissa, I apologize. I thought you had an early morning, did you? Just a few questions on this, and I'm not saying I would or wouldn't support it, but I'm just trying to get a grip on it. Of the $7.5 million of the ARPA funds, there's 3.1 left that's not earmarked yet, and some of it is for, that you want to do for a mobile clinic, and then $2.5 million towards the remodel of the 100 Virginia. And this is just money that you're not going to spend. You just think that you'll be needing it after the bids come in, or have the bids come? Because I'm looking at some of the bid process, and I'm seeing part of this is for $960,000 for 1,300 square feet of additional space. It doesn't make sense to me.
Sorry. So those are just estimates. So that hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I should have used the word designate, right?
Mhm.
Like we want to put a wall around these dollars for this project, right? We have a plan for the full 7.5 million, but we don't know that it's going to cost that much yet. We just worked with facilities to estimate a conceptual budget based on the things that we feel like need to be changed. But then once an architect and engineering firm is hired, they are going to help scope the project to see what is possible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. The amount, just to me, the amount doesn't justify. I'll probably call you and ask you before Tuesday's meeting, and then, just to grasp a little bit more of an understanding on it. The $2.5 million, to me, at the first offset, just looks like a big ask, for that that kind of a return. So I'll probably talk to you about it a little bit more before Tuesday, and we discuss it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so no further comment on this item. Mr. Scala, 17B1.
Speed study. So this was a item that had gone to transportation, was voted down in transportation, was asked to be put back on the agenda again, and then subsequently was voted in favor to support. My comments on this are in regard to the corridor of Lakewood Road. This is in our 5-year transportation plan, the Lakewood Road corridor. That is included to have a roundabout and bike lanes I would prefer that the speed be adjusted based on the reconfiguration of the road after the work is done, versus doing it now. The other thing is, you know, it was asked to be put back on the transportation, which the chairman did, but there really wasn't much new information presented besides a letter from the municipality that surrounds the road, which that letter was benign in its wording. It basically said we will leave it up to the county board to make any adjustments to the road based on what it sees as fit. I know there are some concerns with children in the summer traveling along the road, you know, and which is the reason why Transportation Department is making the adjustments to that corridor. But, you know, again, the premise of county roads are they're supposed to move people and move traffic. You know, they're a step down from a state road. And, you know, this corridor has limited access to it from the housing developments on both sides. And the purpose of that is to move traffic. I know a lot of individuals that live in Huntley, that live in the west side of Lake in the Hills, travel this corridor instead of going down the Randall Road because of the congestion on Randall Road, and which has gotten better, and hopefully after the northern segment is done will be even better. But traffic on this road, I mean, I travel it significantly a lot, usually is based on the traffic congestion that is on the road, and that is what kind of dictates the speed versus the speed limit. So I will still be not supporting the reduction in speed.
Mr. Reiner?
Yeah, Mr. Scala, you might want to speak again after this, but as I recall on transportation, or maybe Mr. Kearns would, when we were in transportation, we spoke of the Lakewood and we voted no as a transportation on Lakewood, but on Pyatt, we were a yes on because of that intersection and kids going from one neighborhood over to the bike path. And I know that the county board member that brought it back to us, that's in her area, and she has a lot of concerns on the Pyatt Road, for one. And I'm just familiar with that Pyatt Road because you know, taking the bike trail, I know how close it is and how many kids that live in Lake in the Hills that need to cross that road. So I would suggest we break those out Tuesday, because I think Pyatt is a definite need. Lakewood, I'm pretty agnostic. I really don't mind, but I thought we broke those out.
Sure.
So in transportation, Pyatt Road was divided out. Pyatt Road did not even get a motion to have that brought forward. So no. So you may have been confused, but Pyatt Road. Well, I mean, the other transportation members can speak to that, but it didn't even get a motion or a second, so that didn't go anywhere. This Lakewood Road corridor did get a motion and a second, and then it passed, I think, 4-2, if I'm, yeah, 4-2 it passed, so.
Judging by the nods, that seems to be the consensus, so. Is that all, Mr. Reiner?
Yeah, my point was made on the Pyatt Road. I would support the Pyatt. The Lakewood, with the work coming up on it, I could see a no on that one, but Pyatt certainly, I think Pyatt needs to be slowed down over there.
Mr. Kearns?
So obviously it should have been 3-3, John. Yeah. And it wouldn't be before us today. I did put it on the agenda. I did put it back on the agenda at the request of several members and a couple different people who were not on the committee. I did put it on there. I did vote no on this. And for every reason that Mr. Scala has just stated, that we shouldn't be discussing this one right now. The Pyatt Road one did fail because of lack of emotion to bring that one forward. I think your confusion comes with the way it's presented into our documents today, that Pyatt is actually on there, but it's not brought forward further up in the documents. So thank you, and I appreciate that, John.
Ms. Campbell?
Yeah, so I was going to say the same thing, that the way it was listed, it looked like we were voting on all three, so I understand the confusion there. I do recognize this, so I'm going to make a couple of comments. Yes, this is a county road, but this is a and it's not the same county road that it was even 10 years ago. It is being used as a way to avoid Randall Road, but it is very much in a community. I mean, these are homes that back up to it. I know there's only a few access points, and I think the backup occurs coming up Randall Road when you get to Miller Road. The major roads that are also throughways would be Ackman Road and Miller Road, and they are 40 miles an hour. They're not 45 miles an hour, they're 40 miles an hour. And Lakewood Road, when it hits Ackman Road, I believe there was an accident there about a week ago at that intersection, north of Ackman Road, it drops to 30. So the 40 mile an hour is very much in keeping with the roads that are very similar in terms of traffic pattern and volume. I would argue that Miller and Ackman are even more heavily traveled than Lakewood, are currently at 40. It does help law enforcement if you change a speed limit in advance of a project change, because it takes time for drivers to adjust their patterns of behavior. We've seen when we've brought in traffic lights at Ackman and Golf Course, we had a lot of increases in accidents at that corner after the light was installed, because people were so used to it being more of a stop sign. But that was a while ago. So the fact is that we do have county roads that are meant to move traffic, but again, we are building up communities around these roads, and so their nature changes over time. I would probably say that, because of the fact that we're looking to change, I know that that road is going to be improved. We'll be seeing a speed reduction anyway, so I understand that point. And getting to Pyatt, and I know that that's not really before us, I think to me that was the more frustrating one, in the fact that that's 50 miles an hour up until the time that you reach Oak Street. It's still 50 miles an hour. So the section of road that would have been considered was Oak down to Willow. Up until that point at Oak, coming up or going south, it's coming up a hill. There's a guardrail. It's very, very hard to see. It's a very difficult road to turn onto. Between Oak and Willow, there are places where people are trying to access the other neighborhood. Again, a county road, but a neighborhood is built up around it. Pyatt Road itself has seen, not in this section, but has seen some major accidents in the past several years. Even between these two roads, Oak and Willow, there's a park. Larson Park is right there. And there are access points down at Willow. There's a crossover to get over there. The Prairie Trail is on the other side. That one I was more disappointed about, but this is the process. I do think that when we have these traffic studies and we come forward with a recommendation, it concerns me that we don't implement them, potentially opening us up to liability. I mean, if we see that there's a problem, we should be acting on it. But so anyway, thank you.
Mr. Kunkel.
I agree with Mr. Scala. Our roads are to move commerce and people. That's their number one priority. I have some experience in that. Ultimately, the signage does not slow traffic down. Only enforcement slows traffic down. That's the way we are as human beings. The highest crash intersection in all of Algonquin Township area is actually at the corner of Hager's Bend Road and River Road, if anybody's familiar with that. Both roads are 25 miles an hour. We have the highest crash rate in in this county at that intersection there. So again, enforcement is probably our key here ultimately. Thanks.
Okay, seeing no further comments, Pete, you got a report for us today?
A couple comments on the upcoming referendum on the mental health sales tax. We have the FAQ page up, but we've not changed that since we put it up. So I'm just, if you as board members are hearing questions from your constituents that you think we can answer for the public, please share that with us. Just a reminder. I think yesterday we made you aware that we had a bit of a scare at the courthouse. In the afternoon, there was a package that was no one knew what it was, and it was left by somebody who took off. I was so appreciative of everyone's professional response. The sheriff's office really seized control of the situation. We cleared the building out. We arranged to have it to be 47 degrees and sunny. So it was pretty good for February. But the Kane County Bob Squad came up, and so we're appreciative of them. We leaned on the Woodstock Police Department to help cordon off the area, and Woodstock Fire District. So it all worked out well, but just appreciative of everybody's response there. Next week, next Tuesday morning, the treasurer's office is going to be in, not our treasurer, the state treasurer's office is going to be here. Shaylin Daigle has arranged to have a meeting with the state treasurer's office and our village managers and finance directors. So that's going to be a kind of a nice gathering for us here. And just how the treasurer's office has a lot of ways that they want to work with our municipalities. And again, another example of the work your county coordinator is doing. Wanted to let you know that this afternoon, late this afternoon, I'm going to a retirement ceremony or a gathering over in Waukegan for the Lake County administrator. They've had a transition in the administrator role there, or the position. And I'm going to go over a little bit early and meet with the new Lake County administrator. And we're going to talk about a number of things, but I really would like to get their perspective on what's going on with the Lake County jail inmate situation and what we're going on. So hopefully I'll have some new news to share with you there. Yeah, looking forward to that. Wanted to thank Alicia Schuler for making some great arrangements for our trip on Capitol Hill on Tuesday. We stopped at 2 senators' office and 4 representatives' office in about a 5-hour period. We were hustling, but it was a really good event. And it was her first time doing it. I was sure proud of her what she did. And then finally, I'll just mention and remind that the offices will be closed on Monday for President's Day. So, thank you.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Scala makes the motion.